everybody, we're Green Solutions and we're here to present our Greenhouse Manual Project Management. This presentation will cover our main project deliverables, notably the project overview, scope management, work breakdown structure, time, cost, risk, stakeholder, and communication management, as well as a lessons learned report.
The main objective of this project was to create a manual that describes the method behind creating an in-house greenhouse for growing vegetables. The manual was intended to guide the user through the designing and building phases of a freestanding greenhouse of moderate size for residential use.
In terms of project scope management, first we'll go through the project justification. The reason why we decided to build this manual is because it will encourage more people to build their own greenhouses, and these are great for health-conscious individuals as food sources are becoming more and more genetically modified. It's also a great alternative to expensive organic food sources at stores, and you have the advantage of having fresh vegetables and fruits year-round, and also exotic flowers and fruits can also be planted as long as they're legal. As Ashley was mentioning in the overview section, we have the project deliverables there, and these are the product deliverables. The product-related deliverables are an easy to understand and implement in-house greenhouse manual that includes a list of all the required tools to build the greenhouse.
The final product goes over how to plan a greenhouse build, covers some structure options, for example, options for glazing and framing materials. It discusses how to regulate the temperature of your greenhouse. And then right at the end, there's a full set of instructions on how to build a greenhouse, or more specifically, the hoop house, shown here. The instructions are for a 12-foot by 16-foot greenhouse. At the beginning of the project, we said it should cost less than $1,000 in materials to build the greenhouse, and the total estimated material costs came out to be $937. We've also estimated a tool cost, which covers everything from a tape measure to rental of a cordless drill. This estimate came out at $193.
In terms of the work breakdown structure, we divided the work into 4 sections, which was planning, research, executing the manual, and closeout. Planning section was further divided into scope, schedule, resource, and project cost. Research was divided into greenhouse structure, auxiliary systems, and the execute manual was divided into draft as well as finished manual, whereas the closeout section was divided into document control, lessons learned, closeout report, closeout meetings, as well as archive project documents.
Project time management consists of the activity network diagram and the Gantt chart to find the critical path. Here is the activity network diagram for the scope subtask, and the critical path is the focus group, which goes to constraints, then deliverables, then scope baseline, then validation. And here is the activity network diagram for the research task and the schedule, resource, and project cost subtask. And here the critical path is research, greenhouse style, framing, and ventilation. This is the draft subtask. Since all the drafts and edits are correlated and in chronological order, they're all part of the critical path. Here is the closeout task and the finished manual subtask. And after the final manual is done, the critical path goes to closeout report, closeout meeting, and then archive project documents. Here is the Gantt chart for planning and research tasks. We use the Gantt chart to track, monitor, and control the project. And if changes were to be made, they needed to be approved by the team, the project manager, and the stakeholders. And if there was any non-conformance, this original timeline will be used. Dependencies are shown with black arrows, and the red arrows show the critical path. And this is the Gantt chart for executing the manual and the closeout.
Planning cost management is important as it is the responsibility of the project manager to ensure that the project is constrained under cost, scope, and schedule. The following parameters are established for the project. For the level of accuracy, cost estimates were rounded up or down to the nearest $10. The unit of measure, the relevant units are described in the tables and figures. For the control thresholds, up to 15 deviation from the baseline cost is allowed before corrective actions are to be taken. And for reporting formats, cost reports are to be presented monthly with comparison between the cumulative baseline, actuals, and forecast. As the cost associated with the project is directly correlated to the work in the schedule, it is crucial each activity is estimated by detailed cost. By doing so, the total cost for each major phase and the entire project can be computed. The major phases shown in our cost baseline is planning, research, execute manual, and closeout for a total cost baseline of $3,390.
We performed a weekly earned value analysis. This allowed us to track and identify budget and schedule deficiencies and remedy them as needed. At this time, the project is $90 or about 5% over budget and $290 or about 10% behind schedule. The good news is, the end of March was a very productive time. We were able to make up $560 of schedule variance. So while we were behind schedule, the March progress shows that we were just a few good weeks away from getting the remaining tasks done so we can achieve the closeout date estimated by the Gantt chart.
Every project has risk, and these risks have the potential to cause the project to fail if unaddressed. The project risk management section is written to identify and evaluate risks in order to eliminate or mitigate them. A risk management plan is an outline of how to conduct risk management activities, including the methodology used to manage risks, the roles and responsibilities of the team members in the plan, and the funds required to perform these activities. This plan was created at the start of the project to effectively manage risks throughout the project lifecycle. The plan was discussed with experts in order to recognize the types of risks present in writing a manual. The following risks were identified for the project. The causes for these risks include a competitive advertising market, an unbalanced allocation of resources, a poor understanding of copyright laws, and the lack of research. These risks have a medium or high severity in the project, as they can lead to bankruptcy or legal problems. By substituting or avoiding these risks with the plans shown in the table, all the risks can be reduced to a medium or low severity.
So in terms of project stakeholder management, first it's important to understand who a stakeholder is. As defined by the Project Management Institute, a stakeholder is an individual, a group, or an organization that may be affected by, or perceived itself to be affected by a decision, activity, or outcome of a project, program, or portfolio. This table shows the internal or external stakeholders found in Green Solutions. So first we have the management team for Green Solutions, and the management strategy that we follow are weekly meetings, online shared documents so that everyone is able to view and edit, as well as online communication channels. We also have external consulting team, which are just third-party subject matter experts. And for them, there will be in-person bi-weekly meetings and email communication. Next, we have the external publishing and editing team. And with them, once we have figured out what kind of greenhouse we want to build and how we want to write the document, we'll have weekly meetings. And lastly, we have the government. So we have to make sure that while we're writing the manual, as well as once a greenhouse is built by the customer, it follows all rules and regulations, and so we'll have close contact with third-party regulators.
In terms of communication management, it is a vital aspect of any project to be successful, as without this process in place, there's a high chance of failure of the project. To get over this risk, there's a dedicated group in Green Solutions to manage all communications with external stakeholders. All internal communication are the responsibility of the project manager, and all the external communication will include the following information, which is listed on this slide. To perform a stakeholder analysis in terms of communication management, the first stakeholder is Green Solutions, which will be provided by a weekly project update by the project manager. The editor, John Powerhouse, will be provided with a weekly manuscript update, which will be provided by the lead of the manual writing team. The financial sponsors will be provided with a weekly financial update by the project manager. The government will be provided with a bi-weekly project update by the project manager. And finally, the customer will be provided with the final manual upon termination of the project.
Lastly, we have a list of the main lessons that were learned throughout the lifetime of this project. So first, an organized and responsible project manager was key in keeping the team on track and motivated throughout the term. Also, we realized that a more solid project scope management system needs to be put in place to avoid scope creep. And it's also very important that all members are aware of the tasks that need to be completed. And this will allow us to remain under budget and within any time limitations that we have. We also found it very useful to use Google Drive as well as Google Hangouts to keep everyone updated and make sure that everyone has access to all of the reports that we're writing. And then lastly, communications management removed all unnecessary forms of communication channels that were not effective to us as a team. And it allowed us to focus on different and more effective forms of communication channels, such as Facebook Messenger and e-class discussion forums. And that's everything. Thank you.